you'll see why this stuck out to me. So we had revised up growth 5.2% in the third quarter. The one of the biggest Black Fridays ever, holiday travel through the roof, all this kind of stuff. But this is Glenn saying this is why, not if, not how, why we're running out of options to avoid economic collapse. And he's wearing his Woody Allen glasses, so I don't know what kind of cosplay he and Stu get into. If I don't know if Stu plays Mia or Sunyi or whoops, and I don't know why this is so weird.
Interesting story. Remember, from investors.com.
Yeah, that's where I go.
Can we,
where I want to be an investor. What site should I go to? Well, obviously.
Just remember who got us here. Okay.
Trump got us here. Is this the idea? Is he going to sell us? Sell us the idea that we're on fumes that Trump set up, or that this is a collapse?
Listen to this. The 10-year Treasury yield set off roaring alarms about the U.S. budget when it surged to 5% last month. Now those warnings look like a fire drill. Federal Reserve rate hikes seem to be over for now, giving the bond market a reprieve and allowing powerful S&P 500 rally to resume.
Excuse me 1 second.
But enjoy it while it lasts.
So, rumors of a collapse. Now things are better, but this guy's the further part of this, this might look good, but it's actually bad.
The next debt scare may be the real thing, and it could rock the U.S. economy and stock market. Here's why.
All right, let's rock.
The Fed's historic turnabout from enabling massive budget deficits to directing the sharpest rate hikes in 40 years has seemingly broken the budget.
Terrible.
Treasury market stress is almost certain to return. In the era of Fed quantitative easing and near zero interest rates promoted
during Trump,
carefree fiscal policies.
During Trump, we should have negative interest rates. Do you remember that? The Fed should pay us to borrow money.
That led to the U.S. racking up $20 trillion in federal debt since 2008.
Real quick, the majority of that, since 2008, when was the majority of that money? When was, say, close to half of that money created debt-wise? What period would that be? 2017 to 2020. I see. All right.
Exhibit A in the case of the broken federal budget is the deficit surge in fiscal 2023, which ended September 30th. Unemployment was near a record low and GDP growth was strong.
Ouch.
Under those conditions, the budget deficit usually shrinks. But this year, it doubled.
That's so weird. It's almost like whoever this asshole is you're quoting isn't going to factor in the COVID recovery. Almost as if they're going to look back at other times when similar things have happened that weren't preceded by a giant pandemic that killed hundreds of thousands of Americans, decimating families and giving long COVID to other people while destroying businesses. Whereas let's just go back to 82 when it was just about oil, or maybe the early 90s when there was this sort of a trigger from the Japanese crisis or the fall of Russia, for example. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe we'll just leave X in there, which represents all the money lost because of COVID, and just ignore that number. It can't be that big. It's just $22 trillion fucking dollars.
To $2 trillion. And that's only if you ignore accounting for Biden's student loan forgiveness that was struck down.
And also, It was struck down. Half of it already went through because people got their forgiveness back, which was another part of this. And those people will take the money that was there and they'll invest it in other shit, or they'll save it and it'll make money because there's an actual interest rate right now. So the idea that it just evaporates because fuck you is annoying.
The Federal Reserve's fingerprints are all over the red ink. The Fed spent more than $100 billion in interest on its bond portfolio to the Treasury in fiscal 2022. It
Because of interest rates going up for the first time in ever, because, yeah.
had to halt those payments.
Gee, it's, let's see, 2022, be on the bond interest rate, and those would be 5-year or 10-year bonds, but the 5 years mainly is the expensive ones because they're more the short term. And when would those have been purchased in general? What years precisely, if you're going back to say, I don't know, let's say 2017, 18?
Payments last year as bond prices fell, having led inflation out of the bag at an 8.7 cost of living adjustment, stoked a $130 billion increase in Social Security checks. Another $100 billion.
Fucking old people. You're like, will you guys just wrap it up and start eating cat food again, you motherfuckers? You got too much money to throw around.
$1 billion went to FDIC bailouts for Silicon Bank. To top it out,
Silicon Bank.
The Fed hiking is the key rate past.
Also, there wasn't a bailout for that fucking thing. They were loan transition money by the FDIC, as happens, and then they were bought up and that money was paid back. That's how it works. That's what happens when shit like that occurs. Wasn't a full-on crash. Didn't result in all that. No, and all those deposits didn't just evaporate into the fucking sky.
5% forced Uncle Sam to pony up an extra $177 billion in interest on the debt.
And
here's the thing.
What's the thing?
Interest on the debt was $711 billion. Went up in 2023, $711 billion. Up from $534 billion in 2022, $413 billion in 2021.
So it didn't go up $700 billion. It went up $200 billion on top of the 500, which is the arc of the expenditures from the previous years.
We're now running at a rate for this month, which will total $825 billion. So we have doubled the interest payments.
Well, I would argue that it's more than that. We've almost quintupled it, essentially, because we were dealing in 5.5%, something like that.
Now, we're probably 12 months, 20 months away from $1 trillion in debt interest only.
Uh-huh. You're not one of these assholes who think the government takes in terms of interest and revenue the same amount of money they brought in say 2003 or something, do you?
Remember, the entire budget that we can pay for, cover our bills if we were living within our means, is $2 trillion.
Hi. Hold on one second. My girl is there. Hold on a second. Oh, that's okay. I don't want one. Thanks. That's okay. I'll order something. I'm fine. Just got a little while longer with these lovely people in the chat, but this idiot right here. So it's Glenn. Yeah. You can come in and say hi if you want. That's a good question. I think he's talking into a Dove bar with his initials tattooed into it. But yeah, it's a Colonel Sanders thing. I don't know. It's just obviously Stu, his co-host, has a Colonel Sanders fetish. Mm-hmm. Yep. That's. You gonna lean in and say hi? Summer, everybody, Summer. Hi. How you doing? Oh, love you. See you later. Nice. Excuse me 1 second. Hold on 1 second. No, there was just a button right. Hi. Luckily, her phone rang, or the show would have never picked up. Hi, how you doing? Hello. All right. Sorry. Back to where we were. Okay. Hi. You way over. Oh, thanks very much, 50 plus. That's very sweet. I'll let her know.
The rest of it we borrow. What are you willing to cut by $1 trillion just to pay the interest?
You don't have to. You just have to slowly pay it down over time.
We are running out of options.
No, we're not. Our economy is growing alongside it. It tracks almost exactly to the debt. It gets in and out. It fluctuates near the end of it. But that's like saying, do you have any idea how much if you had to pay off your house tomorrow, what would you be willing to cut from your food budget to pay off your house tomorrow? This is fucked.
The Fed says they have it all under control.
Yeah, but that obviously can't be true because these people are all, masters in economics and stuff. And we have shellfish allergy Woody Allen over here who obviously knows better.
Nobody is buying our bonds.
Nobody is buying our bonds. Nobody's buying our bonds. Nobody's buying our, oh shit. Nobody's buying our bonds. As we start a new week, let's take a look at the significant events in the global economy over the past week with our weekly financial update presented by Boz Kuzmin, CEO and asset manager, DHF Capital SA. U.S. stock and bond markets rallied with major indexes like the S&P 500 and NASDAQ Composite posting significant gains, achieving their best monthly performance since July of 2020. Gee whiz, you mean the first time we rebuilt it and then we rebuilt it again? The surge was supported by declining treasury yields, leading to the bond market recording its best monthly gains since 1985. And it's not just that that Glenn's dumb. It's that he's just a spectacular level of dumb at just the right moment. Positive news on inflation emerged when the core personal consumption expenditures (PCE) price index indicated a slowdown in October, reducing its year-over-year increase to 3.5%. Federal Reserve Board member Chris Waller's comments expressing confidence in policy positioning to slow the economy and reduce inflation also buoyed investor sentiment. And what was the name of this video from Glenn Beck that he posted 2 hours ago again? Was it Why We're Running Out of Options to Avoid Economic Collapse? In all fairness, perhaps this is our way of finding out that Glenn Beck is broadcasting from Turkey.
The Fed is buying our bonds.
Well, no.
So when you hear, oh, the S&P 500, the Deutsche Bank just said it's going to go up. We're going to have a surge.
I think he's doing, that's his Larry Kudlow impersonation.
Enjoy it while it lasts.
Oh, I am. Yeah, the last 3 years.
The problem is, only the ones who have tons of money in the stock market, and those are the ones who usually get all the bailouts, and they get all the government contracts and everything else. They're the ones in the stock market. They're the ones making all of the money.
Okay, first of all, fuck you. This guy has a huge portfolio. Eat shit. There's no fucking way that Glenn doesn't have a huge managed wealth portfolio. It's fucking ridiculous. Secondly, I've told you guys many times that meme stocks and like retail investors are now a massive, massive part of the U.S. stock market right now. They have a huge impact. They actually can drift the functional, like the scale of a stock market surge or dip can be driven by retail investors now. Something that was fucking impossible in the last, up until maybe 5 years ago.
The past wasn't that long. The past wasn't that long ago.
I know, it's right up on us.
If you have money in investment,
like most people with pension funds, for example, Teamsters, UAW, you mean like that?
good for you.
Yes. Unions, good for you.
Good for you.
Good for you. Not good for Stu.
But it is eventually going to go away.
That's true. You can't take it with you, I guess, folks. If you have a 401k, that's right. If you have a 401k, good for you. I hope you're fucking happy that Trump's magic is gone.
And guess who will win?
People who are part of these larger funds because of their employer, their 401k, or their union.
All of those who are connected.
Ah, connected. I see. Siamese twins, human centipede. I get it.
All of those who are connected.
All of them. Well, not all of them, obviously. Because there's a bunch of them. It's not enough to go around. Rich people tend to, jettison a couple of the weak ones.
I like it in the old days when companies did something and you go, oh, that's really good. I want to invest, and their stock would go up. Oh, that's really bad, and their stock would go down. Oh, the economy is really bad. Stock would go down.
You like that, did you? That part of your fictional idea of how finance works. But and by the way, seldom up till this point, and again, the retail investors have a huge part, or play a huge part of this. Seldom has the stock market been in line with the welfare of the average person. It's usually out of sync with it.
Now, it doesn't work that way anymore. Nothing.
Nothing works anymore. Now everything is broken, Glenn. We're in hell. We're in the tubes of hell.
The only one I've seen is Walt Disney.
Yeah, he is dead. And you've seen him. I just hope it was on an old, maybe on the Disney Plus thing. You can watch some of those old Disney programs where he's the host. But you mean the Disney company that he started that's still around?
Walt Disney marked its 100th anniversary with Wish. Cost him $200 million to produce. It brought in, over the 5-day weekend, $19.5 million.
And?
Wow.
Right. And then worldwide, because it's really built for the world market, it will make up most of its money. It just won't make it in the United States. That's really what's going on. These days, you can actually... That kind of investment you can actually write off in these situations. I would also like to point out that there are a bunch of movies that are kind of like that don't do well necessarily in the United States, but carry everywhere else. And they invest in those movies every so often. They don't, and once you go for a world market aspect of things, you're going to basically, you're almost guaranteeing you're going to build something that the U.S. market won't necessarily like.
Now, by contrast,
Bud Light.
Frozen brought in 125. Frozen 2, not even Frozen 1, Frozen 2 brought in $125 million over the same period.
Yeah, but you'll notice the difference between the characters in those movies and the majority of people in the country that you're talking about, just by volume, and little kids. These are little kid movies. And the volume of, you see that Frozen, wherever it is, and by the way, it's really popular across all these kids. It was still a little blonde girl or whatever, and in a country that is 60% white, where we're talking about like little black girls, technically speaking, statistically speaking, about what, 3% of the populace? And so they spent $200 million targeting a movie just at those girls. That is the primary audience, with a sprawling secondary audience as a possibility, but really aimed at them, which is, I think, kudos to Disney for rolling that movie out, knowing statistically the heart of the demographic that it's aimed at is way fucking small. Now, in Africa and throughout the African diaspora all over the planet, it'll make up its money amongst those folks. Because again, I don't know how Frozen did in Africa, but probably not a relatable, not just on the white girl part, but on the temperature aspect. Yeah.
Indiana Jones, The Dial of Destiny, gone. The Little Mermaid, nothing. The Marvels, worse than the Hulk. How's that possible?
Because the Hulk was done on the cheap.
And only
which Hulk?
Worse than that is Haunted Mansion. The only worse than that is Wish. It couldn't happen to a nicer group of people.
You mean women and blacks? Is that what you're saying, Glenn? That the primary, like you're talking about the Haunted Mansion and Wish and the Marvels. The idea is that movies starring minorities and starring women largely couldn't happen to a nicer group of people who would put out a movie for folks like that. Yeah.
These are the kinds of things that we used to see in America. You disconnect from reality, you lose.
Oh, I see. Is that how you ended up on the Blaze?
I don't know when we're going to see the first government bailout of Disney, but I'm waiting for it.
That's adorable. It's meant to be cute, and he's selling it before he bumps to commercial. It's kind of fucking stupid. Just floating that out there. And also the glee with which Glenn specifically, or maybe just ignorant to what he's talking about in terms of the movies that are actually being made. Because again, he wants to lay this out on woke shit, that it's wokey wokeness, instead of maybe them narrowing their demographic too much or what have you, but or being hostile to audience, those kind of things, which, there's a fair amount as they try to broaden stuff out. They look at the demographics and they go, we're capturing this amount of audience with this property. What if we made something that could bring in the other folks so that everybody wants a piece of this? That's the kind of decisions that businesses make in these particular instances. And that's exactly what they did in terms of the Marvels and others, whatever. And you can't blame them, because the first Avengers movie made $1 billion on its own. So they've got the money to spend on this other stuff, these expansion properties, because their profit on the other stuff has been fucking enormous. Yeah, the company is worth $170 billion. I've had Disney stock for a long time, since I was on the network, because I was like, they hired me. This is a smart company. What a dipshit. So anyways, that's just fascinating.